welcome back to Swarm Weekly, where we recap the Seattle Swarm's highlights of the match week. I'm Hornet alongside Pandy, who's running us through our Week 2 matchups.
Your Swarm stepped into this week at 4-0 to play 7 total series, starting with Ramen Bowl's 2 matchups, one against the Miami Cayman and another against the Pandas. The NTS squad had their 2 series against the Phoenix Thunder and Houston Flames, who were also both 1-0. MAC League also had their 2 matchups against the Phoenix Thunder and Houston Flames, who are winless out of Week 1. Finally, Linguini League had their only series of the week against a strong San Antonio Revenge roster.
Up first is the Linguini League crew taking a 3-1 victory for their only matchup this week versus the San Antonio Revenge. That one douche, the captain, makes a hell of an entrance for their Season 15 debut, scoring 6 goals with a hat trick in Game 1 to show the Revenge they mean business. Getting into those forward positions, Pivot 97 also proved to be a threat on offense, where they had a total of 8 goal contributions on the offensive, while still strapping 6 saves under their belt. But you can't win a series on just offense alone. Blaze not only assisted 6 times in the series, they were also a wall on defense with 8 saves to prevent the Revenge from gaining any kind of traction on offense. And with that kind of performance, the Linguini League crew took home a 3-1 win versus the Revenge to remain undefeated through Week 2.
Up next is the MAC League, who stole the show when you are this weekend with a 3-0 win versus the Phoenix Thunder and a 3-1 win versus the Houston Flames. Ethan started the ride to victory for the Swarm by showing off from coast to coast. He had 12 goals on the weekend, pushing 8 assists and locking down a net with 4 saves per series. We saw Dangerous for Life make their Season 15 debut against Phoenix this week. He facilitated several key plays with 4 assists, while also scoring a clutch overtime goal in Game 2 to put the Thunder on series point. And speaking of danger, Captain Kami had yet another incredible weekend of action, specifically against Houston. He was their worst nightmare this week with 6 goals, 8 saves, and 3 assists against Houston alone. And the final piece of the puzzle for this well-oiled Swarm is Fort, and like last week, Fort was there to deliver the dagger in the back of his opponents by initiating multiple key goal-scoring plays throughout the weekend with 5 goals, while keeping Houston begging for mercy with 7 saves. Overall, these 4 are firing on all cylinders. From jaw-dropping pass plays on offense to textbook teamwork on defense, the ML Swarm is not a nest you want to mess with.
Up next is the NCS team with their Season 15 debut versus Phoenix and Houston. JK Frost was a huge playmaker for their series against Phoenix, where they assisted 5 goals while occupying the midfield. In addition to the passes, Pardon played a major role in disrupting the opposition, getting 14 demos and 11 saves on the weekend. Moving forward, Skippy, their captain, came into his Season 15 debut guns blazing, where he had 9 goals and 14 saves across 2 series. And finally, Frosty Brew made his impact across the entire pitch with 4 goal contributions and 5 saves that proved to be clinical and critical in their series against Houston. Even though they started their season against a tough opponent in the Phoenix Thunder, losing 0-3, the NCS crew most definitely regained to reverse sweep the Houston Flames, going 1-1 for Week 2.
And finally is the Ramen Bowl crew, who went 1-1 on the weekend, taking home a 3-1 victory versus the Miami Cayman while securing 1 point in a tough 2-3 loss to the Atlanta Pandas. Goyo was a full field threat this week, scoring 5 of his 7 goals against Miami while also tallying 19 total saves. Hornet played as a major disruptor this week with 9 demos on the weekend. He kept his opponents starving by stealing key boost lanes and putting them to sleep with direct shots through triple coverage. And finally, Tater was the Swarm's playmaker this week, applying ungodly amounts of pressure to the opposing defense. This was done through executing extremely difficult passes and locking down 7 saves per series, not to mention 32 shots. Despite dropping a series, the Swarm look forward to using what they've learned to hopefully go undefeated in Week 3.
And with that, let's recap the Seattle Swarm's 7 matches in Week 2. The Ramen Bowl team had 2 matches versus the Miami Cayman and the Atlanta Pandas, where they beat Miami 3-1 first, then took a point away from Atlanta in a Game 5 loss. The NCS team played their first games in Season 15 against the Phoenix Thunder and the Houston Flames, where they lost to Phoenix 0-3 first, but bounced back by reverse sweeping Houston. Up next, the ML team also played their Week 2 matches versus the Phoenix Thunder and the Houston Flames. They absolutely obliterated their competition by winning 3-1 and 3-0 in convincing fashion with high-caliber team plays and solo highlights to continue their win streak. Lastly, the Linguini League team played their match versus the San Antonio Revenge, where they continue their win streak by winning the series 3-1. That's how all the series went for Week 2, but how did the Swarm as a whole look for you, Pandy?
Well, Hornet, despite a couple small bumps in the road, I feel that the Swarm are certainly well on their way to making history in Season 15. These Warriors are standing there menacingly, boasting a 9-2 collective record for the season. I'm not sure how it's possible to have this much talent on a franchise, but here we are, easily one of the best collective franchises in the league. That honor could not be held without each and every player on the Swarm, especially these ballers on the left with our series highs. That one douche, Ethan and Kami, lighting up the net with 6 goals each, Ethan and Blaze feeding 6 assists, then Goyo as an unstoppable force in net with 11 saves, also Tater applying pressure with providing 19 shots, and finally the battering ram themselves, Pardon, with 9 demos in one series.
With those stats, the Swarm is definitely looking like a major threat in Season 15.
Congratulations to everyone on the Swarm, and I cannot wait to see what you have in store for next week.
That's it for Swarm Weekly Week 2. I'm Hornet.
And I'm Pandy.
And we'll see you guys next week.